I'm Mike Wilbon. It's National Beautician's Day. Tony, do you have a beautician?
Tony Kornheiser. I don't look this hot by accident.
Wow,
I even travel with a beautician.
Wow, you and Oprah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that.
Oprah, of course.
So great minds think alike. Yeah, there are certain things you need in life. You need validated parking and you need a beautician. Other than that, you're usually good.
I'll take the park.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the NBA explores a shorter season. The Twins may make a big move, and do we finally have an answer as to why baseballs are flying farther? But we begin today with a report by Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN that Kevin Durant has officially opted out of his Warriors contract. Now, Durant can still sign a 5-year max contract with Golden State, where he has played for the last 3 years. But he is now said to be considering the Knicks, the Nets, and the Clippers, as well as the Warriors. Wilbon, does this report change your mind about Durant in any way?
No. It doesn't come as any shock that he was going to opt out of this. Kevin Durant can count. He's not going to take $31 million when he can take between $144 million and $240 million or whatever the high-end number is. So, no, this doesn't change anything. It doesn't make us know any more or less about Durant than we knew yesterday or the day before or the day before. It's just, if I had to guess, and that's because I'm putting my values in play. I'm taking the 220 to 240, whatever it is that Golden State can offer me as a supermax, and I'm gonna rehab in that brand new palace in San Francisco, which is a short walk from where Kevin Durant lives, short Uber. And I'm doing that, but I don't know what he's gonna do, and neither does anybody else.
So our friend Frank Isola says that the Knicks expect to have a meeting with Kevin Durant. Okay, so that, as we remember from a couple of years back, or 3 years back, Kevin Durant would not even take a meeting with the Washington Wizards, his hometown team.
That's right.
So if the Knicks are in play, this is interesting to me because the last few years, the Knicks have been a clown show. And getting Kevin Durant would give them a certain credibility that they've never had before. They can wait a year. They waited for Porzingis. I mean, the original plan was to wait for Porzingis, then they dealt Porzingis because there was, troubles in paradise there. But the Knicks being in play is interesting to me. The Clippers and the Nets being in play is interesting to me if these reports are to be believed. Because as you know,
they've always been in play.
I believe that the Clippers and the Nets, I think Durant, it's good for the NBA in New York or LA. But I believe those are second teams. I believe the Knicks are the varsity team. So I wonder, I too, like you, think he's better off signing
Golden State.
I think.
Sure.
But we don't know him.
No,
you do.
Well, a little bit. But again, Kevin Durant is a thinker, and he's not. Look, the Oklahoma City to Golden State.
He's in New York now.
Is totally foreseeable. Because you know what? No matter what Kevin Durant said, and he played it great publicly, he didn't want to be there with Russell Westbrook until the end of time.
Right.
And that was the bottom line on that. So you know what? That was a smart move. And he goes to a place where he can win multiple championships and MVPs in the postseason, which he did.
And now it appears he wants to leave, which I don't understand.
The Knicks and the Nets, I don't believe it. That's just, but I'm not saying I know what he knows.
Do you think it's possible?
Feels. I don't know what he feels.
Some guys just like to be recruited. Okay? Sure. This would be his second time around. Maybe he just likes to be recruited. And then I'll settle
right here in San Francisco in the best arena in the world, being finished in about 40 days.
Until the next one comes along.
Well, it won't be Madison Square Garden because they just rehabbed that one.
That's right.
Much more interesting story coming out of the NBA, I think, is the league really starting to explore playing an in-season tournament and end-of-season play-in competition and fewer games overall. We could be looking at these changes being made on a pilot basis 3 seasons from now. Adam Silver is very much in favor of these changes. Tone, big deal, little deal, no deal at all.
Just as an aside, Adam Silver is very much in favor of a lot of changes, but the changes never take place in the moment. You always have to wait, and that's because of collective bargaining agreements. Right. And I understand that. I understand that. It's no deal at all to talk about it. It's a pretty big deal if they do it. I think you and I both agree that the 82-game regular season is far too long. There are 2 numbers that work better to me. 72, because 72 gives you 2 games with out-of-conference opponents, 1 home, 1 away, and 3 in conference. I think 62 works because you have 2 games. Well, let me explain 62. You get the extra game. You get the extra game within your division. But with all changes like this, you have to tell me who's going to take less money.
Yes.
Are the owners going to take less money?
No.
Are the players going to take?
No.
Well,
then here's what works. 74 games. I'm kind of close to you on this. 74 regular season games. I like the 72 because of the evenness of balance in and out of a conference. But, Tony, I love the play-in notion at the end. That you
Oh yeah, we're 8 and 9. We're 9 and 10. Play 7 and 8 one game.
Incentivize it to do something other than tank.
Let's get back to.
So I like that.
Does the in-season tournament provide money that somehow
Everything provides money.
So then you can cut the schedule and have. But what is the in-season tournament keeps bad teams interested, right? Because anybody could win.
Yeah, but you can't only play the bad teams, and they got to figure this out. This in-season tournament, and there are all kinds of proposals out there, Tony, and there's going to be advertisers and sponsors out the wazoo. So that's why they're not going to have to take less money for, say, 72 or 74 in tournament and an end of season. They wouldn't. 58 is not in play. Okay. Somebody's proposed that. That's not going to happen.
I think 62.
Because the television partners, the people who sign our checks, they're not going to be in favor of that either.
Let me tell you what this whole thing says to me. It says that Adam Silver is cognizant of the fact that he needs to worry a little bit. That ratings are down, that interest is down, and the games, the regular season games, for the most part, are not as special as he wants them to be.
So if you do things, you give them something other than regular season games.
Cut down some of those games and involve every team in a tournament. But it is a recognition that the Golden Goose doesn't last forever. You got to work with it. Bob Nightingale of USA Today is reporting that the Minnesota Twins are showing strong interest in trading for Madison Bumgarner. While Bumgarner is only 4-7 for the Giants this year with a 4.21 ERA, last night he struck out 11 Colorado Rockies in 6 innings in the win. Wilbon, would Bumgarner solidify the Twins as the favorites in the American League?
Not really. I mean, Bumgarner hadn't been great. I watched Bumgarner last week.
Got lit up.
Get lit up by the Dodgers.
That's right.
After he had talked a whole bunch of hoo-ha coming out of the previous game with them. So Madison Bumgarner, this is not, 6 years ago or 4 years ago or 8 years ago.
He says he's just as good now. He says he's healthy, ready to go.
I don't want to hear what he says. Kyrie Irving says he's a great teammate too. Did you take that easy?
No.
Teams full of that? No, you didn't. So Bumgarner can't show the last couple of years that he's worth trusting. If I'm the Twins or any other team, I may take a chance on Bumgarner finding that form, but just because he says it doesn't mean it's going to happen.
So I'm going to go to the Twins just for a second here, because the Twins right now have the best record in the American League. The Twins lead the majors in runs. They lead the majors in batting average. They lead the majors in home runs, which means they got more than the Yankees. And the Yankees hitting 5 out every single night. So the Twins are really solid offensively. The analogy I would make here is to Justin Verlander going from Detroit to Houston a couple of years ago. He had a couple of mediocre years for him. He gets there, he doesn't lose at all, and they win the World Championship. They win the World Series. I think Bumgarner is that kind of, I'm not saying the Bumgarner you're seeing now is that pitcher, but a change of scenery with a guy with that talent, maybe that is the spark.
You know what made me a little suspicious? I thought Bumgarner was going to come back that way last year or this year. I thought the Giants had enough around him
you always like
him to be excited.
That's right.
And I thought they were going to do that. And basically the Dodgers came in and took their lunch money. Their hated rival of 100 years.
They're the best team in baseball.
Their lunch money.
Right.
But the Giants put up no resistance, and Bumgarner's got to take accountability for some of that. Maybe the change in scenery will do him good.
Sometimes
Tony, I'm taking a wait and see on him now. I am. Major League Baseball hired a rocket scientist to tell whether current balls flying out of the parks at an absurd rate are juiced. The Athletic is reporting an astrophysicist has determined the baseball is rounder, smoother, and has lower seams than baseballs in recent seasons. Recently, Rob Manfred went as far as to say, quote, "We do think it's a drag issue," close quote. Tony, I told you weeks ago, without a degree in astrophysics, that baseballs and the home runs are bogus. With all of this in mind, should Manfred look at changing the ball?
Saying that Northwestern doesn't offer a degree in astrophysics? You
think I qualified for it?
Good enough for that
No,
one?
I wasn't good enough.
This is a serious issue for me. And if I were Rob Manfred, and I think he probably thinks like this, I would be very mindful that the one sport in which records matter the most is baseball. And they have traditionally, numbers in baseball are sacrosanct. There's no other sport. That's
it. Don't matter anything else.
So with an eye on history and an eye on protecting the records in baseball, I think I might want to make sure that the baseball is exactly the same as it was. But, and this is my but, golf balls go further.
Yeah.
Tennis
World
rackets
records.
have more
Doesn't
tension
matter.
to them. Hockey sticks have more whip to them.
Doesn't matter.
So you would go back automatic.
I would go back.
I'd like to think I'd go back, but I don't want to sound like a curmudgeon.
Tell them a home run ought to come at a premium. There's no premium. It's junk. Every night, 4 of those home runs going out of Yankee Stadium. The ones that go out of right field, 219 feet.
Well, no, but that's-
they're pop flies. Tony,
Okay,
you
but
can
that's
say what
Yankee
you want.
Stadium. That's
It's still
I understand.
not a premium.
I
A
understand.
home run ought to be special. There's nothing special
a
about
lot
the
of
home
these
run
balls
right
are
now.
going out at 420 and 440.
A lot of going out at 338.
They're going out fast. You know, as Al Davis said, he goes down high.
But if the
This is what
baseball's
happens.
juiced,
Do you think it changes? It probably changes a little bit every single year. I don't think it's juiced.
when I say juiced, it
What
means
does that
there's
mean?
something. Rick Sutcliffe talks about this. I keep telling you, we're going to get Rick on this show. Rick Sutcliffe talks about the stringing of the baseball
Right.
and how a couple of years ago people got blisters because the strings were sat too high. The laces, it's not a football, but you know what I mean. The seams.
Seams.
And now you
Seams may
can't
be
find
different.
the seams.
They may be different.
This smooth, the balls are flying out. You know what? You know what'd be a high home run
Baseball
total?
can order
45 a year.
Baseball
not
can
this.
order all the balls to be exactly
Yes,
the
they
same.
can.
The problem that I have with this, and again, I wouldn't have it in basketball or football. I wouldn't.
It don't
because I
matter.
care
The
about
numbers don't matter.
The problem I have is it becomes an integrity of the entire sport issue.
Yes.
Now, maybe everybody with launch angles and the speed of the pitch, maybe it's easier to hit out. But I would want to make sure of the uniformity of the ball that it relates to other baseballs in the past.
Now there's no uniformity relating to the recent past. There isn't.
So I don't know what to do.
Astrophysics
I don't
just
know
told
what to
us
do.
that.
Let's take a
Did you
break.
take that
That's
at
what we'll do.
Binghamton?
They didn't offer that.
Oh, okay.
I took futures
I bet
farming.
they offered.
Coming up, Jim Tomey joins us to talk about the home run
Good.
splurge
We're gonna
in
have
baseball.
Tomey talk about
in
that.
baseball.
I want to hear a picture and a hit.
That's an English
Slugger.
major.
Hall of Fame slugger. Later, the Rockets are reportedly shopping Clint Capella, Aaron Gordon, and my man P.J. Tucker in an effort.
Let's get back into baseball with a Hall of Famer, an All-Star Game ambassador, and one of the largest, broadest men I have ever seen in baseball, MLB Network analyst Jim Tomey, who is filling up this screen. You were a tremendous power hitter. Does it bother you that the ball actually appears to be different and thus may be inflating statistics of today's players?
Well, I think first of all, I mean, do we really know that it is, the ball is different? I know they've said like the core center is different, but at the end of the day, I mean, the home runs are up. To say it bothers me, it's hard to answer that, to be honest, without truly knowing the facts of what's happening to the baseball. I know there's a lot of opposite field home runs. Strikeouts are up. When you look at the game, strikeouts are up. Guys are throwing harder. So, I mean, in a way, there is a little bit of a balance. And until you really know all the facts about the baseball, I think the good part is fans love home runs, and they're getting that right now. And let's see how that all plays out in the end, on the facts of how the actual baseball is.
Jim, let me follow up on that a little bit by asking you what you think and what you and your peers talk about in the shift in hitting philosophy. All of the stuff about launch angles and guys swinging for home runs, which you didn't necessarily do as many as you hit. What do you think of that?
Well, I was never we never talked launch angle. I'm sure that a lot of Griffey, I would say myself, we had a launch angle. Everybody's got a launch angle, but it wasn't talked about. The one thing, playing in Cleveland and being around Charlie Manuel was how he actually taught us to go practice and to work on our craft and to come down and level through the baseball, which created this backspin. For me, I would rather use the term exit angle. It's how it left the bat, instead of telling a young kid today, launch angle is how I'm going to approach it. And then the first thing they're going to think of is, I got to get up under the baseball, which has created more strikeouts. And it's why our game, yes, there's more home runs, but there's a ton of strikeouts right now. And I personally, I like the base hit that drives in 2 runs. It doesn't always have to be that a ball is in the air and goes out of the ballpark. You know, that's one thing. Hit and run. I think the game is lacking the hit and run again, and just the way it was naturally played. You know, I love the game now, but I loved how the game was played, no doubt.
I can tell you like action in these games, Jim. Would you have, if this was, you were playing now, would you bunt away from the shift for a base hit? Even all the home runs you hit, if you had a shift at times in your career, if they shifted like that now, would you see yourself dropping a bunt down the third base line to get on?
So one of the things Charlie Manuel always told our lineups in Cleveland, know thyself. You know, at the end of the day, you have to know your strengths and yourself. If it called upon to bunt, you know, yes, then go work on that and try to master your craft and work on laying a bunt down. Now, hitting in the middle of the lineup, let's face it, when David Ortiz, when those middle of the guy lineups come up, I was in that situation, you know, for a long time. They wanted us to bunt, but getting on base at the end of the day is what it's all about. You know, bunting was never really a huge strength of mine. You know, driving the ball out of the ballpark was, and trying to get yourself in a position to do that. That was the best part of constructing a good team that John Hart, Dan O'Dowd, and Mark Shapiro did, is they gave us balance, speed, power, and youth that we were able to work on our strengths, and all knowing thyself to put us in a situation to succeed. So the player has to know themselves, but also if they're going to keep shifting on you, then yeah, you got to go out and work on it. You don't want to just make outs, but if that's the case, go out and practice it.
I can't imagine him bunting. I can't even imagine him bunting. Stop it. He can hit
doesn't have a stamina because of bunting.
150 feet out of the ballpark, and it would take him an hour to get to third if he bunted. Thank you so much, Jim.
We appreciate it.
You can vote for baseball's All-Star Game until 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on MLB.com. The starters will be announced tomorrow at 7 Eastern on ESPN. Let's take one last break, but coming up, Michigan and Vanderbilt will play for the College Baseball World Series tonight.
Reliable Network.
Happy time, people. Happy 27th birthday, Rudy Gobert. The Utah center won Defensive Player of the Year for the second straight year, justifying his fabulous nickname, the Stifle Tower.
Great nickname.
Gobert openly cried when he did not make the All-Star team this season, and he was mocked by many NBA players. But I think that comes under the heading of honest emotion, which many NBA players never show. And it also cost him $1 million bonus, which would make you cry too, Wilbon.
That's right. Some of the young players in the league now would cry if you took away their Instagram. But $1 million, sobbing and weeping, yes, from me.
Happy anniversary, Aroldis Chapman. On this day 7 years ago, while with the Reds, you decided to celebrate a save by doing 2 forward rolls off the mound. We have not seen a save celebration like that before or since. That. Chapman left the Reds for the Yankees, the Cubs, and back to the Yankees, where he is now unhittable again. He has a 1.45 ERA. He leads the American League in saves with 23.
You think he'll be in the Fall Classic one more time this year?
The Yankees,
pinstripes?
I think the Yankees are good, but I think the Astros are good, and I think the Twins are good. Not necessarily. I'm not ready to pronounce that.
Okay.
Happy trails to Bob Lee. The 64-year-old longtime anchor at ESPN announced today that he is retiring from this network. He was at ESPN from the beginning, and his history is ESPN's history. Over the years, Lee has earned the adjectives substantial and trustworthy. I was with him on Monday night when he was inducted into the National Sports Media Association Hall of Fame in Winston-Salem. He looked fit and great.
Good.
And we wish him all the luck in the world.
Let me credit my friend Stephen A. Smith, who called Bob Lee the Ted Koppel of sports journalism. And that's apt, isn't it? It conveys a credibility and a heft, and good.
I have to tell you, I spent some time with him, and I asked him, because I knew that he had taken leave, how he was enjoying it, and he talked about being a grandparent and how much he enjoyed that. But I'm surprised by this. You know, because I'm older than that, and I like, yeah, Bob, that's right. Yeah, old people need to work. One omission, Marc Gasol opted in to next season's $26 million option with the Raptors.
I wonder if he knows something, if he's led there happily by a teammate's inner decision. Yeah. Just saying.
Big finish, here we go.
Let's do it.
Agent Wojciechowski with ESPN says the Rockets are shopping Clint Capella, Eric Gordon, and P.J. Tucker in order to clear cap space to get Jimmy Butler. Good plan.
Not for Butler. He should stand in the corner and wait for James Harden to stop dribbling after 22 seconds for a jump shot. No. The Blues signed Craig Berube to a 3-year deal. Congratulations.
He won the cup. He should have gotten the deal.
Before
he won the cup.
raising the
he
cup.
was interim. I mean, come on. He found the goal. He won the cup. Orlando Magic GM says he has no idea when Markelle Fultz will be back. Your thoughts?
This is sad. Markelle Fultz was the first overall pick in the draft. He's supposed to be out there making his mark on the league, on basketball, enjoying himself. This can't be enjoyable. Roberto Luongo is retiring after 19 seasons in the NHL. How will you remember his career?
Bobby Lou was a guest on this show.
Yes.
He also sat in the audience to
Just
watch
hanging out.
the show.
That was so
Hanging out.
cool.
He's got the third most wins all time behind Marty Brodeur and Patrick Clark.
HOF.
Last one. Oh, yeah. Michigan and Vandy for the College World Series tonight. Who you got?
I'm torn. I root for smart schools like Vandy, but I got to go with the conference.
Your conference.
I guess I got to go with Michigan.
Out of time. Trying to do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
Vandy can't trap that ace out again back-to-back.
No, can't.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcast.
John, Kyle, Kevin of Pinehurst. Shout out.
PTI.